I do want to talk a little bit about this sort of loss of faith in the police that we've heard from the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, and of course, you know, Two-Tier Keir, as he's henceforth to be known, the Prime Minister, dismissing the idea that two-tier policing is the norm in this country. A former Director of Public Prosecutions himself insisting that, of course, we don't have any sort of two-tier justice system, when, well, we all know that we do, because we've had, you know, police chiefs, the government, many of the great and the good, the commentators, dismissing all this as lies, as scaremongering. But it's so blatant, it's actually embarrassing for them to continue to try to gaslight us in this way. Whether it's back to 2020, Black Lives Matter protests and anti-lockdown protests. For one of them, the batons came out. For the other, well, it was taking the knee, wasn't it? Hare Hills riot in Leeds, just a month ago. Police ran away. Only 27 arrests when hundreds of people were involved in smashing up police cars in full daylight, setting fire to a bus. Only 27 people arrested, vast majority out on bail. Very different to what has happened in the wake of the Southport stabbings, which left 3 little girls killed and 10 people injured in total. Police went in full tilt, as they quite rightly should, when riots broke out in the evening after a vigil. But very, very different in the days following. Muslim vigilante gangs on a roundabout in Birmingham. No sign of the police at all. And yet any supposedly white far-right protesters absolutely cracked down on. Now, I'm not asking for police not to go in when it's thugs or the far right or whoever it is on the streets causing mayhem and damage and destruction and fear among local people. I want the police to go in full tilt each time, every time, regardless of who it is, without fear or favour, because you know what? That's their job. And I also want judges to throw the book at those who throw bricks at the police or set fire to people's property and cause mayhem and terrorise local neighbourhoods. Absolutely. But why don't they throw the book at everyone else who does exactly the same? And why is it that some people who stand around and happily watch people at Hare Hills smash up a police car don't face arrest? But judges have said that even someone just passing by or went out to look at what's going on the street post-Southport and the riots last week should face not just arrest and charge, but even years behind bars. People who've tweeted, not incitements to violence or to riot or hatred or anything like that, but simply tweeted information that turned out not to be true, whether they did it with good intent or bad intent. Should those people really be facing years behind bars? When Yvette Cooper says people have lost respect for the police, I mean, she's right. But when she says it's because people feel as though crime has no consequences, she's wrong. They don't feel it, they know it. They see it every single day, whether it's shoplifters or burglars or car thieves or rapists. They see it every single day. And this two-tier policing is so visible and so obvious to all of us. People don't trust the law. We're normal law-abiding citizens in this country. Don't trust police officers. Don't trust judges to treat them equally before the law. Something has gone horribly wrong. And no, I don't think that censoring people online is going to provide a solution. It's deeper than that. And you know what? The problem isn't the British people. The problem is those in authority who have done this, who have defended this, who have lied about this and are still lying to us. If anyone should be sent away for disinformation, it's them. 9 minutes past 11. Theo, have you lost faith in the police?
Not quite yet.
Not quite yet. I like that. Not quite yet.
Not quite yet. Look, there are many. I think it's really important to draw a distinction. There are many really good, hard-working police officers.
Vast majority.
Richard Tice said it there, and I found myself having to report a crime. I was driving back late at night after the football, and I drove past the McDonald's drive-through, and a huge fight broke out inside that spilled over into the kitchens. It was horrible, and you know, it's going to be subject, obviously, to a police investigation. Somebody ended up getting stabbed. The police officer who rang me at 3 o'clock in the morning to find out what I'd seen and saw, diligent, really hard-working. He asked all the right questions. I couldn't fault my interactions with that detective constable. He was excellent doing his job. But I think there is a leadership problem, you know, out there in terms of how the police are perceived. We saw, of course, Mark Rowley snatch that microphone out of the reporter's hands at the Metropolitan Police.
I mean, I'm sorry, that would be a resigning offence. How dare he smack someone's microphone? That's criminal damage last time I looked.
And Keir Starmer described it as a non-issue. But I think what needs to happen is they need to address it, to front it up.
But they can't address it if they don't think it's happening. They think it's all just made up by people like me. I'm the problem. The people who are online are the problem. We're all the problem. Anyone who expresses any view that is critical of these things, you're just creating an issue, you're creating a problem. When someone, my view is, when someone, nice middle-class girl, you know, as an issue, living in a nice leafy part of London, if I no longer trust the police to act, you know, without fear or favour, or the justice system, I think you've got a problem. I think the country has a problem.
I think it's about, isn't it about price matching? So actually that you, and this is to your point, Julia, that you have a justice system now that's been kicked into gear, that works very quickly, that delivers justice, and you see those televised sentences where the judges hand down justice and they are dealing with it very quickly. And it's about ensuring that that approach applies across the board.
Well, across the board, except, of course, we know it doesn't apply across the board because someone who throws a brick or does something like that wouldn't normally get those sort of sentences. But also, I've got an issue with some of the sentences. Yeah, you're threatening people with death or violence, you're setting fire to things. Yeah, throw the book out. But we're talking about some cases where people are simply, OK, someone has got a stick. There's one case, some grandfather, he's got a stick. He's got no criminal record. He's never been in trouble with the law. It's the first offence. Look, there are people who get involved in these things. Again, I've always said, you know, you've got your thugs and you've got your race baiters and your online, you know, I mean, horrible, nasty, thuggish races who are trying to stir it all up. You've got those sort of far-right groups and you've got your thugs, kind of crossover. But then they're a minority. And then you've got a load of people who might fancy a bit of a bust-up on a Saturday night, frankly, you know, whether that's a football match or whether there's a bit of a riot going on at the end of the street. But the vast majority of people, I think, often just people who are just sort of, what the hell's going on? And then seeing aggro, I think I could see a point when perfectly normal, law-abiding people could get caught up in these things. And yes, they're making wrong decisions. Should their lives be ruined forever as a result of that? I'm not sure they should. I would like the lives of rapists ruined. I like the lives of people who are prolific, thieves ruined. I think a lot of people who are good people can make bad decisions on the spur of the moment, and as long as they haven't actually caused injury to somebody or caused fear to somebody, I don't want them not to be punished. Yeah, you should absolutely get a criminal record. Yes. But whether people should end up getting a couple of years behind bars, I've got a big question mark about that. When actually, look, you know, I was a court reporter for many years in a local paper. An awful lot of people who commit some really heinous crimes don't get 2 years behind bars.
Of course, and I think part of what Keir Starmer tried to do with that threat, and we heard it at the weekend of, you know, from the Crown Prosecution Service, a threat of 10-year sentences, is just to clarify in those people's minds that actually might think about taking part in it, but actually just...
I think it's an outrageous threat. I really do. I really do. If you commit a crime that is worthy of that, but I don't think because you happen to be right, you happen to be doing this act on this day in this particular circumstance, that crime should be treated any differently from the rest of the time. Now, I'm of the view that we should be punishing more crimes more severely and more quickly. But
there's also a question the prison service can't cope with it
because they're letting people out who've committed serious crimes early, so they can put people in who attended the scene of a riot. Look, and I'm saying because I know I'm going to get a load of criticism for this, and I don't care. I really don't care. I'm always going to give my personal views. People who commit serious crimes at those absolutely throw the book at them. But there are people who have not committed serious crimes that what most people would regard as people just come on, leave it. Leave it, Brian, leave it. We've all got those friends. Come on. I'm just saying that I just think everything has got a little bit out of hand. And again, I think we've got police chiefs and politicians who are a little bit drunk on the power, a bit drunk on the sort of the authoritarian side of things, and that's where you see this crackdown on free speech coming as well. And polling shown that Keir Starmer's popularity ratings have gone down 6 points or something since the election.
He's back to where he was before.
Back to where he was before, which is telling people don't think he's handled this well. Now, apparently, more than half of people are saying we think he should have been tougher. Now, do they
revert to extraordinary
we weren't
measures?
In that territory either.
Well, there was a suggestion at one point that we might end up in that territory fairly quickly, and that was on the first weekend of the riots. And fortunately, we didn't end up in that place. But he wanted to use existing powers. He wanted to think back to what he did in the 2011 riots when he was the Director of Public Prosecutions, to come in and just bring in severe sentences. And by and large, he's saying that worked, but there is a wider conversation now about how he prevents it from happening again. Yeah. And is he going to go down the route of actually trying to come down quite hard on free speech and come down hard on the social media companies, so that you don't, if you tweet the wrong thing, then you could potentially find yourself in prison. And who's going to be the arbiter of that? And where do we go from here? Because I think this is going to move quite quickly, Julia. They're not sitting on their hands.
They've got a massive majority. They can pretty much do whatever they want.
They can bring in any laws they want, and they need to make sure it's not good for them, and they need to make sure they deal with it quickly.
Well, indeed. Well, look, let's go to the callers, actually, because Anne is on the line. She's in Northampton. She's given us a call on 0344 499 1000. And Anne, I think you really want to touch on exactly this, on Keir Starmer's reaction to all of this.
Yeah, morning, Julia.
Morning.
I just felt over the weekend I was thinking about all that's going on, and I felt that Keir Starmer really had an opportunity to behave like a proper grown-up statesman when all this kicked off. I don't even know when it was, last weekend. And instead, what he seems to be doing is behaving, to me, like a tin pot dictator. So he's saying, let's make everything illegal. So we can't stand on a street and watch a riot. You can't tweet a video. You can't forward a video that you might receive from a friend who's in London and watching a riot. So you can't send that to your husband to say, look what's happening in London, where we used to live, because we used to live up there. Down there, and he's just seemed playing whack-a-mole. So
let's make that illegal. Let's make that illegal. We've got enough laws. We've just seen it. We haven't had to change the law to put a load of thugs behind bars. There were already people behind bars in prison. I mean, we didn't need to change the law for that. Why is there a knee-jerk reaction from every politician? If in doubt, bring in a new law. Why don't they just sodding enforce the ones we've already got?
And the other problem that he's done by his awful speeches last week, I mean, they were just, I couldn't even listen to them, they were so bad, is that he's disenfranchised a huge swathe of the law-abiding population that just hate the fact that we have open borders on the south coast, that we've had a massive legal immigration, and that no one seems to be able to address this. Why is it so difficult to even and he can't even talk about it. At least Rishi, to be fair,
talked about it. Well, we even had people blaming Rishi Sunak for the Stop the Boats slogan because people were shouting Stop the Boats at one of the riots. I mean, it's like, no, you can't say any words in case someone repeats them. I mean, we are in very, very bizarre territory. But, I mean, do you trust that Keir Starmer and Yvette Cooper are going to get on top of both the immediate issue of the violence we've seen and the threat to law and order, and also, because Labour are very big on this, the causes of crime?
I think they're going to repress it. I think all they're going to do is they're jamming a lid on something that has been simmering for a long time. And I don't agree with the thugs that came out to sort of do what they did. But what he doesn't seem to get, and he can't seem to understand, that there are so many ordinary people that have worked all our lives, paid our taxes, and we see people coming over on the border who have no passports. We don't know where they come from. We pay their benefits, we pay for their food, we pay for their accommodation, and it's going to get worse. I just feel that unless some politician or leader starts to starts to understand how people are feeling, then instead of just getting a few little riots, it could...
Again, I think you could actually be, in a couple of years' time, you could be arrested just for saying that. Like you're saying, well, there could be trouble. Well, you're inciting it. No, talking about the reality of this is what happens. I mean, there are politicians, Reform UK are talking about this stuff. Quite a few Tory MPs, the sort of problems have been talking about this issue. And you know what, the likes of Keir Starmer and Yvette Cooper, they just say, well, they're all just ghastly, they're liars, they're stoking hatred, they're divisive, they're, Islamophobic, they're bigoted. If you raise these issues, you just get called names.
According to Keir Starmer, I'm just far right, and yet I've voted. I would call myself I'm a sort of fairly moderate Tory, although we haven't had any Tory policies for a while. But I'm not a far right person. But what he's doing, he's driving people, and as Richard Tice made a very good point, you drive these people underground, and it starts to get. Then it gets dangerous. Then you get, you're in dangerous territory, and he's just got no idea. I actually think he's got no idea what to do. No,
I think you absolutely nailed it, Anne. Thank you very much indeed. So appreciate that. Thea, I think she's quite right. Just one thing I want to touch on before we've got to go to a break, but the parents of the 9-year-old girl who was killed in Southport, of course, a 6-year-old, 7-year-old and a 9-year-old. This is Alista Silva Aguirre's family at the funeral. They got actually the local police chief to read out a plea for no more violence at the funeral. Basically saying, look, don't riot in our name. Do you think that will help quell things?
We hope so, yes. Sergio and Alexandra, the parents of Alice, who of course was killed at that Taylor Swift party, they said they were speaking through a family friend actually at St Patrick's Catholic Church in Southport at her funeral. She said, "You've shown great courage in asking me to be here today to give a message from you, Alice's family, to say that you do not want there to be any more violence on the streets of the United Kingdom in the name of your daughter." A very clear message there from them.
Absolutely.